Week number 2 of the high school football season. This is the weekly game preview right here on WestBranch.Football.com. I'm Matt Chinander, and I'm joined by voice of the Bears, Jason Miller. Jason, the Bears dropped the first game of the season, and I just can't stop thinking about how those numbers on the scoreboard don't remotely tell a story of how that game went, especially the first half.
They were there. The West Branch was there. It was 20-10 at one point. The Bears were inside the 10, first and goal at the 8. And then, nothing happened on first down. Fade pattern, no good. Second down, fade pattern, questionable. Could have been, we won't get into the penalty possibility. Third down, just a broken play. Got taken back for a loss. And then one of the most fluky things of all flukes I've ever seen in my entire life. A guy jumps the snap on a field goal, catches the actual kick, and runs it 85 yards for a touchdown. 100 more times. You could tell him, I'm kicking it right now. You're 2 feet from the ball. I don't think that you could catch it if you knew it was coming. Amazing. And it completely flipped the game with a minute 45 left to go in the first half.
Yeah, I felt like the Bears were just right there in that game and could have gone into halftime, down by 7 if that field goal went in, or maybe even tied if some other things broke the Bears' way. I mean, I guess that's football, but and then they would have gotten the ball to start the second half, and just maybe some week 1 mistakes by the Bears, but they were taken advantage of by Williamsburg, and I guess that's what number 1 teams and defending state champions do, huh?
That's a good team. I mean, they graduated a ton. We talked about the kids that they lost, but we also talked about the kids that they have, and we talked about Race Heitman. Well, Race Heitman did Race Heitman things. He had 3 touchdown receptions, had another return, and they just have other kids that filled in. It's just a very well coached team, and they've got athletes that they might put a challenge in there at 3A again.
Yeah, a tough draw for the Bears off in week 1. But I think there was a lot to like from this team after that week 1 game. If you really, really look into it, other than just looking at the scoreboard. Jason, I know you were on the field after the game. What were the spirits like down there from the coaches and players?
Quite honestly, it didn't seem as though, they were disappointed, obviously, but when there's a block and you're on top of it and there's a blood cell coming through, sometimes there's just nothing that you can do. Again, that was a very good football team across the way. Wish them the best of luck. But the Bears, some good things happened. They ran the ball well. They threw for nearly 100 yards against a very good football team. So they can take some of those things away as we move forward to week 2.
Yeah, moving on to week 2, Bears are traveling to Dike-New Hartford for the first time in program history, if I'm not mistaken, to take on the Wolverines, who last week fell to the now number 1 ranked team in Class 1A, Grundy Center, 21-7. What can you tell me about the Wolverines, Jason?
You are very correct. Teams have met 3 times. Not one time has a meeting been in Dike, Iowa. Once in the Dome, twice in West Branch. And all 3 times Dike-New Hartford has won. Dike-New Hartford's a physical football team. You watch the film, they played the defending 1A state champs. So these 2 teams have something in common. They both lost to a defending state champ in week 1. But you watch that film, they being the Wolverines drove right down the field, 40-yard pass, started up, they're up, the Wolverines go up 7-0, and then Grundy Center started to do what Grundy Center does, and it's wear on you. Kind of like the style that Dike-New Hartford likes to play, a very physical game, with sooner or later it's like Novocaine, it's going to wear on you and wear on you and wear on you. Mentally, can you be with it? Can you hang with that? Can you get over that hurdle of, wow, it popped every game. It's not an open field, loose, 4 or 5 wide kind of team. They're going to line up, and they're going to want to line up against you and see how far they can push you. And mentally, they're going to push you. Physically, they're definitely going to push you. That's a Don Betts coach football team, and it's a very good team up there. They were ranked number 1 before last week. So this is a team that a lot of people around the state think is going to be a very good team. They are very senior dominated, and that's why they're going to be a very good team and very tough out.
Yeah, it's going to be another test for the Bears, and I think the physicality bit you mentioned is going to really play a factor. I think we saw last week we saw a lot of cramping going on from the Bears. So hopefully they've been hydrating this week. Obviously not as hot this week, thankfully, but still, it's going to be a pretty physical football game. As you mentioned, you've always said it, Jason, but that improvement from week 1 to week 2, it's a cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're typically true. What are you kind of looking for from the Bears as we head into Friday?
Defensively, that they don't get their daubers down from last week, that they just stick to keys, that they stick to basic football and what's being coached out there by Coach Bailey and obviously Coach Nestor as well. The keys that they're given, their assignments, if they stick to that, this is a game where that's a very, very, every game it's a good thing. But when you're a team going against a team that's not just going to run and shoot and throw everything at you, the kitchen sink, throw it down, throw it all over the yard, but they're going to bring a physical style football game. West Branch needs to bring the physical. So that is what I like about this team, that they're still a very, very strong team up front. Good pair of linebackers in Gates and Trepanier. Big shocker, Trepanier playing good linebacker. I know it's just a one-game audition so far, but I mean, those two were all over the field, and they're going to continue to be the bell cows for a defense that's going to play a very key role in what happens on Friday.
Well, it all starts at 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Dike. There's a fresh soft game before that, starting at 5. We will, Jason, you and I will talk with everybody here on the Bearcast for the varsity game starting around 7:15 for that pregame. Until then, go Bears.
Go Bears.